Good morning, everybody. Now, in the UK, MPs have had a very, very nice pre-Christmas present because it's been announced that their salaries are going to increase by 7.1% from £86,584. That's what they get already per year. But from April, it's going to go up to £92,731 per year. Plus, on top of that, they get expenses which are almost unlimited, and some of them claim expenses of £200,000 or £300,000 a year. Okay, lots of that goes into running their offices in Parliament, their offices in their constituencies. But some of them take expenses for their energy bills and things like that. I mean, it's even been known for MPs to take expenses for manicures and hairstyling and things like this, which is, just really taking the mick out of ordinary people that they're supposed to be representing. Now, the thing with this is, a lot of MPs also have a second job. Now, I do understand London is an expensive place to live. I lived in London myself for many years, on and off. I mean, I've lived in London on and off over the last 30 years. I don't live there right at the moment, but I did live there for about 7 years between 2014, 2015 and 2021 when I was on the London Assembly. And it's an expensive place to live, and it gets more expensive as the years go on. But part of that is actually caused by the MPs themselves, who are all in parties that are beholden to mass rapid immigration. And so the number of people who have migrated into the UK in the last 25 years has been over 10 million people. And a third of those people end up in London. Okay, so some come, some go. But the population of London has increased by at least 2 million over the last 25 years, from 7 million to officially 9 million, but it's probably 10 million or much higher, because there's a lot of people living in sheds, living 20 to a house that's built for 4 or 5, and so on. And nobody seems to do anything about this. And immigration just keeps on going on and on and on. All the parties support it. The fake Conservatives pretend that they're against it, but they've presided over more immigration than even Labour brought into the country in their 13 years of power between 1997 and 2010. So since 2010, we've had much, much more immigration under the fake Conservatives. This all leads into house prices going up in London, which makes costs more expensive. So the MPs, some of them are complaining now, oh, it's really hard for us on a salary of £90,000 to live in London. It's your own fault. I nearly swore there. I just withheld myself from swearing, but it is your own fault for doing that. And it doesn't just affect you, MPs, who are on a very nice salary and about to get a 7% increase in salary. It affects ordinary people tremendously in ways that you can't imagine when you're shielded from the experience of ordinary people, where migrants end up from mass rapid immigration in places that you don't have to live because you've got a nice salary and you can claim expenses and live in a second flat in Westminster Village, which is very nice. I know it very well because I stood for Parliament a number of times. And obviously, being on the London Assembly, I was mainly based in City Hall, which at the time was near Tower Bridge. Now Sadiq Khan has moved City Hall to the back end of Newham, so no one actually goes there anymore. But, on my time, I was often around Westminster meeting people who were, in the political sphere there, if you like. Now, another thing that I think people are appalled at is that, I mentioned it just a minute ago, even though MPs have this lovely salary, I would be very, very happy to have a salary of £92,731, which is what it's going to be from April. A lot of them have second jobs. In fact, it's been reported that there are 18 MPs that have second jobs that pay more than their MP's salary. And the vast majority of them are in the Conservative Party, the fake Conservative Party. There's one Labour MP whose name comes up when it's been reported in the mainstream media about this. I'll put a link to a report where I'm getting these figures from in the comment box. But David Lammy apparently earned £90,000 approximately in the year between July 2022 and July 2023, which is the latest year that we have figures for. And that was for presenting a radio show on LBC and speeches. So there's one Labour MP who earns a lot of money there from a second job, has a second income. Again, very nice if you can get that job, but you know, I mean, he's constantly playing these victim narratives and speaking about these victim narratives from cultural Marxist ideology quite frequently. But the majority of people who earn high wages or a high second salary are in the fake Conservatives. Now, apparently in total, there were £10 million have been earned by MPs that have been declared as second incomes from second jobs. And nearly half of that is just from one person, and that was Boris Johnson. Now, Boris Johnson is no longer an MP because he resigned and there was a by-election for his seat earlier this year. But in that year, when he was at the final year, he was still an MP, he's declared an income of £4.8 million from other sources. So I imagine that most of that will be speeches and articles he writes and so on, which is an incredible amount for an MP to earn in a second job. I mean, it's like his first job, and then being Prime Minister or being an MP was his second job, essentially, so, and he did a very bad job as Prime Minister, of course. Apparently then there are £4.75 million also earned in second jobs by a variety of other Tory MPs that are not Boris Johnson. Significantly, Matt Hancock is reported to have made £450,000 in the 12 months to July 2023 from media appearances, speeches, and also royalties and earnings from a book that he wrote about how he did such a wonderful job in the lockdown COVID period. Yeah, right. Again, I kind of want to swear at this moment, but I won't. I will. I'm finding it very, very difficult to restrain myself just reading out this information. Jacob Rees-Mogg apparently made £350,000 in that year. That's reported in the same article that I'll post below. And then there's another one, Lee Anderson, made apparently £100,000 or has £100,000 a year presenting a GB News show. I mean, there's actually four MPs, four Tory MPs have got their own show on GB News. So obviously they're paid quite handsomely for being GB News presenters. I mean, honestly, I go on there myself. Less so at the moment. I've sort of invitations have dried up a little bit. I don't think I have the right opinion about the Middle East, but that's a whole other issue. But you do question. I mean, even though it's a show, it's a channel I go on sometimes. If someone's an MP, they should be in the House of Commons every day to vote on the things that they're debating about. I mean, I don't think that MPs should have their own TV shows or their own second jobs or whatever. Yeah. Occasionally they might write something for a newspaper at the weekend. Okay, that's fair enough. They might go on a Newsnight or whatever and get a little bit of an appearance fee for appearing on a panel show or whatever. Nothing wrong with that. But to have like a contract where you regularly present a show or you regularly do consultancy for a certain number of hours a week for a business, really that is, I think, contradictory to what your role should be as an MP. If you're an MP, or elected to any body, whether it's Scottish Parliament, Welsh Parliament, London Assembly, London Mayor, Mayor of Manchester, Stormont, anything like that, you shouldn't have a second job. You should only be, occasional fees for this and that. You shouldn't be taking consultancies from a business and so on, because that should be your prime job. You should be spending all your time focused on what the public elected you to do, not, cavorting off here, there and everywhere, earning yourself extra salaries. I think that's, it's just basic decency and respect for the electorate, which some people don't seem to have. So the vast majority of this extra £10 million that MPs earn on the side and declare are from fake Conservatives. And there's, so the figures are astounding. So it's actually 9.5 million earned by the Conservatives, over 9.5 million, and just 0.4 million from all the other parties, Labour, Lib Dem and SNP. So 400,000 from others. And the most significant of those is David Lammy. So I think people will be quite appalled that, MPs that have made the most appalling decisions for this country since the last election, since the 2019 election. Brexit hasn't been done properly. They all voted for lockdowns. They all voted for no jab, no job. The vast majority of them, there were a few rebels on the no jab, no job regulations that came in, where the government, with the support of the opposition, voted through regulations to kick care home workers out of their jobs if they didn't take an injection, which was absolutely an appalling thing to happen. So, anyone who did that, who's actually been responsible for 40,000 care home workers being kicked out of their jobs, and as a result of that, many of them, I know because I represented some of them in a union I worked for at the time. I worked for the Workers of England Union at that time, and I actually did represent some of them personally in cases where they were putting in grievances against their employers, their care homes, and I actually managed to keep some people their jobs, which is one of the best things I've ever done, in the face of these people. Again, I'm holding back from swearing. Tory, Labour, Lib Dem, Greens, who kicked them out of their jobs. They don't deserve this. They don't deserve a reward for this. Sorry, I'm really angry about this. But that's it. This is where we are. And they've done just an absolutely appalling job. No care for the people in this country. And now they're running this country down with this whole climate alarmism nonsense, making it hard for people to travel in their cars, destroying our towns, our cities, our countryside, running down our energy infrastructure for nothing, for absolutely nothing. So I do apologise because I'm getting quite emotional here because I hate this. So obviously, as I say all the time, please come and join me in the Heritage Party. Stand to be a candidate for Westminster. Get rid of these people who are MPs at the moment, who are running our country down, and let's restore our country again. Thanks for listening, everyone. God bless you all.